wants to turn off their video. There it is. Welcome back, everybody. You identified a number of potential recommendations just now that the panel could make. Now we're going to go around to each group and see what they are for everybody's benefit. We're doing this with the whole panel, including folks working on the other topic, so that everybody can get a snapshot of what everybody else is doing. We're going to go to each group, kind of rapid fire, 2 minutes per group. And I'm going to ask for a representative from each group. If you haven't selected a representative, moderators nominate one real fast when I call on you. We're going to report them out in 2 minutes, whatever you can report back to the group, sort of the core ones from what your group worked on. Probably not enough. Some of the groups did a lot, so just do the best you can reporting back some of what your group talked about, and I'll cut you off at the time. So don't worry, keep going until I say when. This is a chance also to look for duplicates. So if you're in group 2, for example, and you hear something from group 1, you're like, ours is kind of the same, maybe just point it out really fast to me. But don't worry about that too much. The main thing is just to report back what you've done just now in the group. And then between sessions here, you'll have an opportunity to give some feedback to each other. All right, so let's go right away into group 1. Who is the representative from group 1?
Glenn, did you agree to do that?
Yes, I think I was agreed to by others to do that.
Thank you.
So we are focusing on housing, and we looked at the concept that I think is pretty well understood, keeping people in their present housing, whether they're tenants or owners, is the most efficient way for generally keeping people housed and safe and healthy during this COVID crisis. So the main barrier that we have in this area is money. Money is short, and the state has limited resources, and the federal government would be a wonderful resource to have here. First off, certainly we should be asking, the state should be asking for additional federal resources, but the state should be looking at, one, is there a temporary tax option that can work to fund this process immediately? Is there a volunteer tax contribution on our tax forms that could be implemented into the tax system so volunteer contributions to this could be given? Are there existing funding sources that are coming in that aren't constitutionally dedicated that can be diverted instead of investing into whether it's transportation or parks or arts into the need for housing so that we can make it through safely with the families and other folks during this crisis. So those are 3 potential sources for state tax revenue over and above the limited amount they have. Money is the key.
All right, super. Thanks so much, Glenn. And let's go to group 2. Representative from group 2.
That's me. Sorry, Lynn.
No problem.
The key, we also had one that deals with money and keeping people in their homes. But one of the key recommendations that we have is to have a program in place to help both landlords and homeowners, to help them be able to fund themselves. There are many services for renters, but not as many options for homeowners, or these programs are not funded. Janet from Community Action said that there was a fund to help homeowners. There's just no money in the fund, so it's basically of no use. The other recommendation that we had is an emphasis on keeping people in their homes and helping those who have become displaced. And then the last major one that we dealt with was 60 million. Come back.
Sorry. I thought there was more down below that you were going to go through.
60 million has come from the federal government, and this is not enough. This will only get us through December, if that. So those are the recommendations that we came up with. We came up with others, but those are the top 3.
Got it. Okay, thanks much. And let's go to group 3. Now we're into education.
Jeremy, would you be willing to present for us?
Oh, I guess. Surprise. Okay, wasn't ready for this, but so we spoke about education, and our recommendations ranged. I think we were pretty much all on the same page. Wasn't a lot of conflict between the group, but we talked a lot about engaging and encouraging folks in school to practice, social, new social standards, right? So social gathering practices where, you stay apart from each other, and, basically wearing masks. We did kind of mention that this is just how it is now. So with the education world, we just have to get people on board with either online learning or a combination of both, learning through with paper workbooks and digital workbooks. So they're trying to think of like other reports. Oh yeah, something that was, a lot of it was important, but something else that's come to attention just to talk about real quick was the idea of pods. So this is all kind of new to us. Our presentation today, she spoke about some families having pods that were accessible to their children, and in the circle of kids that could be together, that were quarantined together, would go to these pods and be taught kind of like one-on-one or in a small group with other teachers or adult administrators that can, teach them on the subjects. So the pods is a really cool idea to explore. I'll just wrap it up there.
Cool, thanks. Sorry if I didn't scroll down to that time enough.
No, it's okay.
Feel free to tell me to scroll down here. Group 4.
Lynn,
Okay.
Madison's going to present for us.
Hey. Okay, so I think that most of our recommendations also in the area of education revolved around equity, like the question is asking, but also accessibility as like a primary focus of equity. Like, how do you make everything equal by giving people equal accessibility? And the primary things that we focused on within that were making sure that students and their parents, if their parents are going to be inevitably involved in these teaching relationships, have equal access to food and shelter. So one thing we talked about was doing an evaluation, perhaps at the county level, to evaluate which counties already have programs in place that are meeting this need. There are a lot of maybe not school initiated, but community initiated at a church or organization level initiative where people are already delivering lunches via school bus or similar. But doing an evaluation to see which counties don't have this or which counties have it, but it's only serving certain populations, to make sure that you extend that within the school districts. Another thing here about accessibility was internet access, maybe some sort of subsidization program at the county level. Again, there was a big emphasis on our group about making sure we take into account the differences county to county in Oregon, since there's just such a vast degree of variation as to how people are re-entering normal, quote unquote, life in this pandemic. Some counties are already up and running, whereas others are, taking it real slow. So making sure we're accounting for those differences. Other things that came up was, how do we make sure that people are safe? Students are safe. They feel like they have the ability to let people know when they aren't. So maybe implementing virtual study halls, but also virtual, I think, very private or individual ways to communicate with counselors and tutors to make sure that students still have an avenue to let adults and more broadly just, the teaching system know if they're falling behind, so that it should be on teachers to identify that, but it should also empower students to have a way to voice when they do feel like, there's something missing here, there's a gap, they don't feel safe, or like they're able to focus. I think that's pretty much the highlight without just reading it, but yeah, accessibility was the main focus, I think, of all of our discussions.
Super. Thanks to the four of you. All four of you did an absolutely impeccable job of keeping to 2 minutes in a way that I don't do, and most speakers don't do. So cheers to you. Thank you so much. We're going to move into our final session here. Although one thing I want to say is that list of recommendations will all be going out to you on tomorrow or on Saturday via mail. So have it in paper form to work with on the 7th session, because you'll be going back to those and revising and editing and sorting and prioritizing all that jazz. The last thing we have to do today before we leave is, as you were as threatened in an email, I believe, earlier this week, we're going to do a group photo. Normally, we'd go outside the hotel or whatever and take a photo, everybody together, but can't do that, so we're going to do it on Zoom. If you don't want to be in the photo for posterity, actually let's stop the live stream if we could, Jenna. Good night.